Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton. Welcome to the January 2nd, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I am an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. I want to welcome you to this week's podcast. We're just going to kind of, again, try and take it casual and see what's going on this week and possibly throughout January. Give you a little idea of what we're dealing with right now. So anyway, let's just get started, shall we? So this week we have, I'm just going to look at, my charts are all right here, so I'm just going to look over there. We've got Mars at 28 degrees of Aries, Uranus at 6 degrees of Taurus retrograde. The nodes are North Node at 19 degrees Gemini retrograde, and the South Node is at 19 Sagittarius. We've got the moon at 27 degrees of Leo currently as I'm speaking, and that means that he is in conjunct to Mars right now. And of course, oh no, I take it back, he's trine, my bad. He's trine to Mars right now, which honestly can be a bit of a difficult energy. It can be friction around children, a lot of child energy, and then emergencies with Mars. And Mars is the ruler of Aries, and in his own sign it kind of increases the amount that we see fire engines and police cars and that kind of thing. And that's true with me as well. I've been seeing them everywhere, and emergencies, I've been hearing them a lot more in my neighborhood. And the moon at late degrees of Leo is children, creativity, romance, leadership. And so there's definitely, oh, my computer just went black. Come back, come out of sleep, come on. And so I'm just waiting for that to come back on. So I'll just talk to you out of my ephemeris, my daily planetary guide. Oh, there it is. Yay, it's back. So the fire energy with moon in Leo and it's trining Mars. Fireworks absolutely were part of this New Year's. I had fireworks here in my neighborhood going off for 4 hours straight. It was like continuous. There was no break, and it felt like being in a war zone. And I know it wasn't, but boy, it was nonstop. So anyway, yeah, thankfully it's done. And what stopped it was a fire engine. I heard the siren for the fire engine about 1:45. And that probably means people complained about it and they came and stopped it. But it was so nice. Right after that, there was silence. I'm like, thank you, thank you. Anyway, we stayed in. My brother-in-law passed away the 29th of December. So everybody was rather low-key in my family, including me. I am really not, just a lot of thoughts and a lot of trying to figure out how to encourage my sister, who she doesn't want to talk to anyone right now, obviously, but it's a very difficult thing. He passed from COVID, so keep your masks on, keep them up over your noses, distance. I was out vacuuming out my car with my daughter before the podcast, and it was so packed and nobody was wearing a mask. There was only one empty space and one lady who was wearing a mask. So we parked next to her, and the man next to us had no mask, and he was an arm's length away. So I had to tell him, please put your mask on. I've had loss in my family. Please just put your mask on. And he did. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to look further into the astrology of COVID for this year. I do have a feeling, the Aquarian energy is about breathing and about understanding things at a higher level. And I do have a lot of optimism associated with vaccines based on the planets Jupiter and Saturn being in Aquarius. But currently, in the sky. Jupiter is squaring Uranus, and also Mars at 28 degrees Aries. Saturn is squaring them, and Pluto is squaring Mars, and within a few degrees of a square to Uranus. Not quite. Uranus is pulling away from that square. And Mercury right on top of Pluto at 20 degrees Capricorn, and the Sun is 12 degrees Capricorn. Venus is at 22 Sagittarius. So Venus is in square also, just past an exact square to Neptune, meaning that women in the news, or women power, so to speak, women are kind of focused on their own ability to take action and their drive. It's also a pretty strong energy around bringing in past life karma for women. We have 3 degrees of separation between Venus and the South Node. And so the South Node is past lives and past karma and what energy we're familiar with coming into this life. It's also what energy we need to transmute karmically to go forward in a positive sense in the future, which is reflected in the North Node. And North Node at 19 Gemini is about learning and growth, education, short distance travel, but also really about communication and thought and analysis. So can we write something down? Can we keep a journal? I'm going to encourage my sister to do that, and hopefully that will help process some of the grief. I know there may be some of you watching who have some grief left over from 2020. It was a difficult year. Nobody can say otherwise, I don't think, at this point. And we're trying to go into the new year. So new year, I think I did the chart for the new year last week, and let me see if I've got it under my astrological events. Let's see, 2020, I've got the solstice, ingress, New Year's 2020, 2016. Okay, well, I don't see it here. Please look farther down. It might be farther down. Look for N for new moon. No, I don't have it saved. But anyway, it's fairly close to what we have now. It's only the next day, so I'm just going to kind of go by the chart I have. But what I'm noticing in this chart is 2 inconjuncts between today, between the moon and Pluto, and then also Saturn. And Pluto and Saturn are still very potent in the sky, and Jupiter at 3 degrees of Aquarius, looking for freedom, looking for change. And it can be unexpected change because, of course, Aquarian energy is the unexpected. And the reason it's unexpected is because it's a quantum energy, and things come at us, events come at us from different places that we don't see necessarily. And I apologize, I got my shirt messing with me here. And so Jupiter is, I want to say, kind of rogue in the sky, meaning that he is looking to take action in ways that we're not familiar with. I know a lot of other people, both psychics, mediums, and astrologers, have been mentioning how much lighter and better the energy feels since Saturn and Jupiter went into Aquarius last week. But, you know, we've still got the strong structural shifts going on. I've seen quite a few places that are, their roads are getting paved, which is Capricornian energy. So, you know, construction and transportation, the combination of that, governmental oversight of road systems because of the system and the government connection. A lot of that is right now getting, what is the word? Is moving forward. It's progressing. So the Sun is at 12 degrees and Mercury is at 20 Capricorn. So we are in Capricorn season. We are really engaged in the structure and wanting to shore up our lives, wanting to expunge our lives of clutter and get rid of a lot of things that are no longer serving us, which really truly has been the lesson of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto going through Capricorn for the last few years. What are we willing to give up and move on beyond? So as we see these transits moving further into the energy of Aquarius, we're going to see a square between Jupiter and Uranus. So that's a pretty big story for the year, and that's really honestly the story that I would focus mostly on. If you're like, last year was the pandemic, last year was also the election, but I would say primarily pandemic. And so this year is going to be about money and how we're going to figure our money situations out in multiple ways. It's between people who make a lot of money and people who don't. It's about where are we heading personally with our personal finances. It's about what are we going to do in the country with money maybe not being there from all of the things that have been going on with closures and lockdowns. So, and not just this country, it's all over the world, of course, because these transits affect the world. So, yeah, we've got a lot of shifts and transitions still. I don't see that we're necessarily done with people passing away from COVID, partially because Jupiter will very rapidly transit through Aquarius at the beginning of the year and hit Neptune mid-year. I think I've looked this up and marked it in my timer, my daily planner here. And Jupiter goes into Pisces on the 13th of May and stays there until July. When, say, July 28th, he goes back into Aquarius and then ends up going back, I think it's like the last day, second to the last day, the 30th of December, Jupiter moves back into Pisces. So we're really going to get a strong taste of the Pisces energy this year. And Jupiter, considered a co-ruler of Pisces, I would say definitely more transitions, because the energy of Pisces / Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is transformation and really the wrapping of the culmination of a storyline. I really look to Neptune for when people retire. There is usually a strong Neptune transit somewhere in the chart of people who are choosing to retire. And then Jupiter really is transformative but expansive. And of course, when you combine transformation and expansion, if he is invested in other planets and cusps somewhere in your chart, which is the transition line between one sign and another, it's going to be a major significant event in your life. So as Jupiter transits our charts, he is hitting, from now until May, he's hitting every single planet in our charts one way or the other, because he will have sextiles and squares, oppositions to everything in the sky, because he is at 3 degrees. So there are 30 degrees in every sign. He's going to hit all those before he goes into Pisces. So Jupiter is looking to transform us all over the board in many different ways, but it's the theme with Aquarian Jupiter is freedom. It's where can we have freedom of analysis, freedom of mind, freedom to be who we are, and the power within our own lives. And where is our power, our personal power, autonomy? Where is our autonomy? Are we able to call our own shots? Are we still figuring out the Capricorn issue of systems and hierarchy? Or are we now finally able to move forward? Of course, Saturn is now at 1 degree Aquarius. He's not going back into Capricorn for another 25 to 28 years. I mean, when he gets to the beginning degrees, it'll be a little less than 28 years. So we've got a good quarter century before we have to deal with Saturn and Capricorn again. But Saturn in Aquarius is the unexpected and expansion of our minds, but expansion of our autonomy. So Saturn restricts, Jupiter expands. Saturn wants systems. We are going to be finding systems around things that appear not to have a system. And what comes to mind is Bitcoin. I know I've mentioned that before, but I'm telling you, I mentioned this way back in last year that it's going down, but it'll be going back up again. It's almost, I want to say it's $30,000 for one Bitcoin now. And I believe it was right around 8 at the beginning of the year. So, you know, increased value, very, very much increased value in the Bitcoins. But because a lot of people don't understand what a Bitcoin is and don't understand how to use that financially, I was talking to my family, my dad, about it, and it was hard for him to wrap his mind around what a Bitcoin was. And it's really just a currency that is coding. It's a code, and information is added to the end of the code every time it changes hands, and you can trace every owner who has had that particular coin, which is the code. Anyway, it's probably more involved than that, but I'll let you look it up on your own. So we've got Mars about to go into Taurus, and Mars taking action, going into Taurus, it can be a bit explosive. It can be, remember, when you put Aries on the first house, Taurus is the second house of materiality, materialization, things come to fruition. And we've had a lot of anger this year with Mars. I've talked to a couple of people about their Aries energy or the Mars energy, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been so angry. And I know I personally have been mad. I think the place that I'm most angry about right now is people not taking ownership of the fact that we are in a pandemic, and they're not paying attention to reasonable requests to keep everyone safe. And when you wear a mask, you're protecting the other person, and they wear one and they protect you, because you're not spewing out, you know, atomized germs that they will breathe in. So it's about the other person. And that's in my house of health. Mars is in Aries in my house of health. So that's really where my irritation mostly falls in the zodiac. Wherever Mars right now is for you, that's where you're going to feel a little bit more agitated by other people. As Mars goes into Taurus, initially we're going to feel like doing something physical with that anger. And healthy ways, obviously, would be something like writing your congressman, writing someone in authority, someone who has a say in the realm that you're bothered by, not to physically take it out on someone. But I will tell you, the truth of the matter is Mars in Taurus is the energy of physical abuse and can very easily be taken out physically on the environment or on people. So I would recommend, if you are in a highly volatile situation, just be aware that that could turn even more volatile in the near future, especially with Uranus, because there's going to be that added energy of unexpectedness, but also the need to feel some type of power in your life. And so let me see when Mars gets there. I want to say it's around the 7th. Did I just pass it? No, it's the 6th. So Wednesday, the 6th, Mars enters Taurus at 5:27 p.m. And it is about love and money and growth and agriculture. Taurus rules all of those things. So there will be an added focus on ways of growing more food. How is the money going to manifest this year? Mars going into a new sign so early in the year. Remember, a year ago is when we had the cluster of planets in Capricorn, stellium, right there at, I think it was 12 and 13 degrees, or that was the date, 22 degrees, 12th and 13th of January. So early on in the year, it really kind of sets the tone for what we're experiencing. And we're moving from the masculine Aries energy, but we're utilizing the planet that rules that in a feminine sign. We've got Venus going into the year. We have Venus in Sagittarius, so we have a feminine planet in a masculine sign, and a masculine planet, Aries, Mars, going into a feminine sign. We have Uranus, which is typically considered a masculine ruler, or the ruler of the masculine Aquarian energy, in feminine Taurus. So there's a lot of combinations of masculine and feminine energy that will start to express more forthright energy, more assertive energy for women in the world. All of the Capricorn planets are, Capricorn is a feminine sign moving into a masculine sign with Jupiter and Saturn. They are both masculine considered planets in the masculine sign of Aquarius. And so there is probably going to be a back and forth again this year, as I believe there was last year, between the genders. And the Aquarian energy is going to be more of that autonomy, you can't tell me what to do. And that's mostly the masculine energy of Saturn and Jupiter. And then you have feminine energy of Mars, Uranus. So going in, it's going to be, kind of, I feel like this Titan battle over the coming year between aggressive energy and receptive energy. And so just keep an eye out for that. But also money markets and how we interact in love relationships and what we are choosing to grow, especially in retail and sales, but also anything Aquarian, which can be technology, meteorology, space, analysis, broader education, more of a eccentric even energy. I always think of the absent-minded professor when I think of Aquarius. And so, yeah, we've got that energy really kind of overarching the whole year of 2021. So because we almost out of the gate have Jupiter squaring Uranus and then Mars joining with Uranus, we are going to potentially, I wouldn't even say potentially, look for a chemical explosion in the near future that is very, Aquarius is squaring the ruling planet of Aquarius, which is explosive, and it's also Pluto in late Capricorn, which can be volcanoes, earthquakes, things like that. Pluto can be extremely damaging, and Uranus can also, I think of kind of like the mythological gods up in the heavens battling it out, and we're kind of collateral damage in some respect. So when you look at Aquarius Mars squaring Saturn Pluto, Saturn Jupiter, yeah, it's heavy hitters, and they're going to be trying to shift and change how money is handled in this country. Aquarian energy is the energy of unions and people, the collective having a voice or banding together to have their say. I think that unions are probably going to rise up again this year with Mars going into Taurus. The energy of the Black Lives Matter movement is going to get some feet, going to get some grip and some traction moving forward, especially with Uranus in Taurus, because that means that the Black Lives Matter movement is finding its voice and finding physical, tangible ways to market, which is Mars, and sell Taurus the idea of equality, Aquarius energy and Uranus, to the masses. So I do think that we are going to get quite far this year with a lot of different issues. I think we're going to wake up to more of how the earth is responding to our being on it, and we're going to see energy that focuses on air and focuses on the sky. So that again is meteorology, maybe travel. Jupiter is travel, long distance travel, and airlines. We're going to see major changes around airline travel, I believe, if it doesn't start out already that way. They just put the Boeing 737 MAX back in the air in the last couple of weeks, I think, or at least became certified to fly again. So we have that coming in. Saturn wants to organize and restrict, but do it through literal means of construction and restriction and authority. That being said, Saturn is in Aquarius. So what's going to happen is Saturn will have to use the tools of the sign he's in. And the sign he's in, the tools are discussion, education, expansion, analysis, research, scientific, finding information from sources you may not expect, places you may not have looked before. It's a new expression of energy. It's new and clean, clear energy. Definitely wind turbines could be a great viable alternative energy source. and this could be a really great year for that. Solar power after the 20th of January. My gosh, we're here in January. I forgot January 20th, we get a new president. So on that day, Sun goes into Aquarius, which means he's right there where Saturn is today. And so that also means there will be tremendous quick moving energy around the identity of where we're heading. Like as a country, we are changing the identity with the Sun shifting on the day of a new president. And we also have the Sun hit Saturn, so that will be like a snapshot of that presidency, having the Sun and Jupiter right there at the beginning, but squaring Uranus. So there's going to be a clash in the masses, of course. There already is. I was out today and went to a place not far from downtown Orlando, and on every corner of the major intersection was a group of Trump supporters with signs, trying to rally people that, he's somebody that should still be in charge, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. And we're about to enter a new era, and it's going to be based on technology and based on wind power, based on thought and ideas and innovation and invention. We are going into a year of using that innovation and invention around our desires, making them real, making them go to the next level, not necessarily a place that we even know exists yet. I was listening to a podcast of a couple of wonderful ladies. One is an astrologer, Anne Ortley, and the other is Gemma Joss Selas, and it's called The Astrologer and the Alchemist. And they were talking about how we are really in this new changing time of shifting energy that really we can't even fathom what's coming. They were talking about the podcast, and how could you know 10, 15 years ago you'd be able to podcast and able to do so much broadcasting from your computer and from home, like YouTube. So we're heading into that era where we don't even necessarily know what we could be doing because it hasn't been invented yet. So it's quite an exciting time. I've even got chills as I'm telling you about this, but it's been kind of an overcast day, but we've got some sun peeking in now, and it's really kind of like that. Even though ugly has definitely been the definition of a lot of 2020, I think that we are having some optimistic opportunities come in 2021. I think that people will be changing relationships for the better. If you are not with someone you think you should be with and you end that relationship, I think that there's a strong possibility you're going to align with your soul group based on the Jupiter expansion of Aquarius and Uranus and Taurus, that square between Jupiter and Uranus are really trying to awaken us to a new possibility. And they do it, the planets do it through the friction of a square. And so it's just a real big time this year of growth in ways we can't necessarily conceive. So anyway, let me just look over the week and see what I can tell you about the week. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Mars into Taurus, like I said, 5:27 p.m. on Wednesday the 6th. We've got Moon in Scorpio at 3:53 a.m. on Thursday. It's going to be a very emotional day because at the same time, within a day, Mercury enters Aquarius, which directly squares the Moon, and Venus enters Capricorn, which actually is in positive aspect to the Scorpio energy. But Venus in Capricorn, she's a very literal girl, and she wants everything to be very strict and disciplined in her time there. I think she's only in Capricorn for a few weeks, if that. She goes into Aquarius the 2nd of February, so it's really 3 weeks of Venus in Capricorn, and then she moves on to Aquarius. So Venus in Aquarius in February will definitely light up people looking for new partnerships and looking for new ways of connecting to people on a soul group level. So look forward to that. And let's see. So yeah, the 8th, Friday the 8th, Mercury changes signs and Venus changes signs pretty big. Mars changes this week. Moon is always changing every couple days. And then on Saturday, the moon enters Sagittarius. And Venus trines Mars on Saturday. That'll be the last significant Venus aspect before she goes into Aquarius. So that's a pretty cooperative energy, even though trines can also bring a certain amount of heartbreak. I know personally I've seen trines continually affect people in ways that are not desirable, and that's a huge shift of energy that trines can create. Today we have a grand trine. Mars at, let me see, Mars at 28 is moving just away, but they're still within 6 degrees of orb. An orb is the distance between the degrees in the sky. So Venus at 22 Sagittarius, Mars at 28 Aries, and the moon is at 27 Leo. So today is a pretty big fire day. I'm hoping that we're not going to see a bunch of initiated fires this week, or even today. I honestly haven't looked at the news for that type of thing, and I'm just knocking wood that is not going to initiate anything. But Venus, Moon, and Mars are interpersonal planets. They're you and me. And so it's not necessarily, and it can be a large scale because Mars is about to change signs. Venus is getting close to changing signs, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which does affect a greater amount of people. When Jupiter is in a sign, it takes a year to go through. So, it's more than just like 2 days in a sign, it's a year. So there can be a longer range of affectation of these particular planets. But it's really, the word that I got is combustible. It is very combustible. Mars at late Aries means that they're ready to fight and put the final ram head push into what is being created. The identity, the expression of self, the little child during the tantrum saying, no, this is where I want to go and I want to get it there. So you're feeling that extra push. Venus at 22 Sagittarius, she's trying to have us awaken to where we need to go, where we need to be, the physical movement of what we're doing. Sagittarius is about movement. Again, Jupiter is about movement. Moon is an indicator. Moon, to me, I read it, much more now than ever. Moon indicates how things culminate. And being that the moon is past Venus today, but still 1 degree off of an exact trine to Mars, I see that as significant. I see there's probably going to be some kind of fight, battle, or show of moxie and authority, because Leo is the leader. And of course, this is also the degree Trump has his Pluto, or very close to it. He's got a late Leo Pluto. And so there's probably a distaste for the idea of moving out of the White House, obviously. But home and family is ruled by Cancer, and that's what's right there on his Pluto. And then Mars is pushing to have that story culminated, but it is also in all of our charts. So I encourage you to look at where it is in your chart. And if you are interested in finding out any more about your personal charts, I am more than willing and ready to give you a reading on your chart and let you know how that all looks for the coming year. Anyway, I wish you the best. I wish you safety and health in the new year, and please do wear your masks. That's all. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, ShelleyOverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.